This video will show you how to replace your front brakes, pads, and rotors on this Mazda 3. These will be located behind your front wheels. Let's get into it. Okay friend, let's get started on our job. The first thing we need to do is safely raise and support the front of the vehicle so the wheel's off the ground. Once we've done that, we're going to remove all 5 of our 21mm lug nuts and that wheel. Now that we have the wheel out of the way, let's pay attention to the caliper itself. If you are looking along this area, you're going to find a small slot. We're going to use a small pry bar directly inside of this slot. I'm going to go up against my caliper and reach inside there for my brake rotor. Gently start prying the caliper straight outward. That's pushing back the caliper piston. We'll just make sure we do have some movement and continue on to our 2 14mm caliper slider mounting bolts. Let's start with the upper one first. We'll fully remove it and then start it back in a couple threads, holding the caliper for us while we continue on to the next. We'll hold onto the caliper as we remove that mounting bolt. Go ahead and remove the caliper from the area. Once you have it dislodged, we want to pay attention around the caliper piston. This is where you can see the dust seal. If you see any fluid making its way out of the dust seal, that means the internal seal is bad and you have to replace the caliper. This one looks fine, so we're going to hang it aside, putting no pressure on our flex hose. Now with that caliper out of the way, go ahead and remove your 2 brake pads. As you start removing the brake pads, you just want to give them a quick inspection. Obviously we're replacing them, but double check to make sure they're not worn at an angle. That could indicate you're having an issue with the caliper bracket. Now we can start removing our caliper bracket. Now this also has mounting bolts. They're along the backside. We have 2 17mm mounting bolts for this. Starting with the top, go ahead and loosen it, but leave that bolt in a couple threads. Remove that caliper bracket. Now we will be cleaning this and lubricating it, but for now we'll set it aside. Now we're going to remove that brake rotor. Prior to removing it, let's make sure we install one of our lug nuts a couple threads. That'll prevent this from falling off while we continue on. It's common for the brake rotor to be stuck in place. If that's the case, carefully tap it out of place using a hammer. Remove the brake rotor. There it is, friends. Prior to installation of any brand new parts, we have some cleaning to do. We want to make sure we clean the hub mating surface where the brand new brake rotor is going to sit. I'm just going to use a wire brush. You can use pretty much anything for this, even some fine sandpaper. Just make sure it's a smooth surface. Now that I have that area cleaned, I'm going to continue on with some anti-seize along that mating surface. Don't need very much here, just a light coating should do. The next thing you want to do is make sure you clean the braking surface along both sides of your brake rotor. Go ahead and install that brand new brake rotor next. Once you have it slid into place, we're going to hold it in place using one of our original lug nuts. Just go ahead and bottom that out, preventing the rotor from moving around on us while we continue on. With the rotor in place, let's focus on that caliper bracket next. As I mentioned, we need to clean it and lubricate it. The first thing I always like to do is remove my caliper bracket tins from each side of the caliper bracket. There's 4 of them total. Just go ahead and pry them out of place. We'll set those aside. Now, once we've completed that, we're moving along to our 2 caliper slider pins. As you remove those, we want to pay attention to the pins themselves. One of them should have a vibration dampener. You can tell ours is missing. It does have a groove. We want to make sure that we either replace it or reuse it. When you go to reinstall it, it needs to go back in the original positioning. For now, I'm just going to remove them. Once you have them both out of place, we just want to make sure we clean them up. The areas that you want to pay special attention to would be the entire smooth shafted area, your vibration dampener, the rubber grommet along here, ours is missing, I'm going to replace it, and then especially along this area where we can see a groove, right where my fingers are. That's where the boot should sit, and we don't want any miscellaneous debris or water making its way in. I'll use a wire brush for this, just try to clean it up. You can use a wire wheel if necessary. Now, as I mentioned, I will be replacing my vibration dampener, so I'm just going to slide that right into my groove here. Let's clean that next one. Only one of these slider pins should have a vibration dampener. That pin looks good as well. Now that we have both of those cleaned and inspected, let's pay attention to our caliper slider boots next. We're going to pull these out of place, removing them from the caliper bracket. I'm just using a small pocket screwdriver. We don't want to cause any damage here. Just go ahead and give those a quick inspection. Make sure they're not dry rotted, cracked, or damaged in any way. If they are, you want to replace them. Now that we have everything removed from the caliper bracket, the next thing we're going to do is continue on with a wire brush and clean the areas where our caliper bracket tins will sit. Just make sure those are a nice smooth surface. After you've cleaned all of those areas, we're going to clean inside of the caliper slider pin ports next. Some parts cleaner and a bore brush will work well for this. Just give that a quick rinse, a close inspection. Repeat the process for the next side. Let's continue on with some high temperature caliper lubricant next. We're going to add lubricant inside of each of our two caliper slider pin ports. We don't need very much here. Now that we've applied lubricant to each of those ports, we'll continue on with our caliper slider pin boots. Look at those boots. You can see that one area has a flat ridge. That flat ridge will slide into the caliper slider pin port. You're going to come in at an angle and then gently start pressing it in. It should fit perfectly. Just give that a slight twist, making sure that it's completely worked into the proper position. Repeat the process for the next one. Continuing on with our high temperature caliper lubricant, we're going to lubricate the entire smooth shafted area of each one of our caliper slider pins. After lubricating that smooth area, make your way into that groove where the caliper slider pin boot's going to sit. Go ahead and insert that into the caliper slider pin port. Just press that in as far as possible. Give it a slight twist here. We're working in that lubricant. And then we'll just clean off any excess along the outside. Squeeze out any of that air. All right, this is starting to look good. Let's continue on with the areas that we cleaned down on the caliper bracket itself. Just a thin amount of high temperature lubricant for each of these areas. This is going to help with vibration dampening and noise reduction overall. Now it's time for our caliper bracket tins. We'll pay attention to the flat side here, and we also have this anti-vibration tab right along this area. We want to have that vibration tab protruding out and away from that brake rotor, not inward where it's going to cause an issue. And the flat area should face down. We'll press it right on there and then just double check to make sure it's secured. Repeat the process for all others. Let's just clean up any residual mess on this caliper bracket. And now we can get this over to the vehicle. As we bring this caliper bracket into place, we're going to start in each of our two 17mm mounting bolts. For these two bolts, I always like to use some blue thread locker. We'll start them in, snug them up. The torque for these will be 80 foot-pounds. Let's pay attention to the brake pads next. As far as the brake pads are concerned, we want to make sure we install our wear indicators. The wear indicators will be on the upper corner of each one of the brake pads. So for the outer pad here, I'm applying this along the top corner. We can see the wear indicator is facing towards the braking material. Go ahead and repeat the process for the inner pad, up along the top corner as well. All right, let's get these brake pads in place here. Just line them up and press them in. Now you should not have to use a hammer to install these, and they should be able to move around inside of the caliper bracket. If you have to hammer them in, the caliper bracket's not cleaned well enough. Let's get that inboard pad in place as well. Now we're going to focus on the caliper itself. We're using that high temperature caliper lubricant, and I'm lubricating along the metal portion of the caliper piston and along the backside of each of these two ears, essentially only the areas that touch up against the brake pads. We can get this caliper in place. As we bring this over, just pay attention to the flex hose, confirming it's not twisted in any way that's going to cause a restriction in brake fluid. We'll start in each of our two caliper slider bolts, snug them up. The torque for these will be 22 foot-pounds. Double check to make sure your caliper is properly secured, and you definitely did not twist that flex hose in a way that it's going to restrict brake fluid. After confirming everything's installed as it should be, go ahead and remove that lug nut. Now it's time to install our front wheel. We'll start on all 5 of our 21mm lug nuts. Bottom them out, get the wheel safely on the ground, and torque each of these to 85 foot-pounds. Okay friend, we showed you how to install one side of your vehicle's front brakes. The process for one side of the vehicle is the exact same thing as the other. Once you've completed that, make sure you pump up your brake pedal till it's nice and firm, and then take your vehicle for a road test. Thanks for watching.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.